everybody. This is Miranda with Vinini, and I'm really excited to be here today with Dr. Jane Tornatore. Tornatore?
Tornatore.
Or
in Italian, tornatore.
Oh, I love it.
Someday
Dr. Jane Tornatore. We're going to switch out our green tea for some Italian wine.
Right.
Now we're done. We are going to be just having a conversation about her path to becoming a therapist in private practice and letting you have a little bit of a window of how that process happens and hopefully learning from her journey. So I'm really excited that you're here.
Yay. I am too.
Yes. So we don't forget, obviously I'll post the information on the bottom of the post, but tell everybody how is best to contact you, like your website address or...
Okay. My website address is drtornatore.com, spelled out DOCTORTORNATORE.com. Real short and easy.
Easy peasy. Yeah, totally. Totally short and easy. That's always nice.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to start with a super easy question.
Okay.
How and why did you decide to become a therapist?
This is actually a great story.
Yay.
I was in advertising in New York City. I just graduated from college. I hadn't had any psych courses at all, no social work, nothing. Mm-hmm. And my sister dragged our family to a family therapist. And I'm in advertising, right? And this woman, the first words out of her mouth are, "My job is to put myself out of business." And I'm like, what? Doesn't make and so she said, the more families I help, the healthier they become. And then if they partner and have kids, the more healthy they will be. And then they'll be healthier and they'll have kids and they'll be healthier. And then she said, pretty soon I'm out of a job. And I went, that's a lot better than advertising. So I kind of went back to my bosses and said, I'm going to quit and go back to school.
Like within a couple of weeks, couple of months, or like...
A couple months, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, that's what I want to do.
It was a complete, like, light bulb moment.
Yes.
I am in the wrong place.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was really, bless her heart. She was a family therapist, and that was my degrees of marriage and family therapy.
Wow, is she still practicing?
I have no idea. I don't even remember her name. It was like 35 years ago.
How fantastic is that, too?
I know.
So thank you to the wonderful MFT in New York City somewhere.
And you never know. And that's one thing I learned actually in my internship. You never know what you're going to say that impacts somebody's life. Mm-hmm. You never know. It's sometimes the little throwaway things, and they're like, oh my God, that changed my life forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did it even come up as part of the family therapy of you saying, like, hey, I'm going to go back to school with it? So she has no idea.
She has no idea.
Oh my God. I kind of hope she like randomly.
I know.
To this video. Right? That's fantastic. So how long did it take you from that moment to actually becoming licensed?
Well, I took a long route. I, first of all, moved back home so I could save money for grad school. Mm-hmm. And then I got my master's, and then I got my PhD in different schools, and I also added teaching and gerontology and something else to my program. So it took me 10 years to get
I love
school.
that. And something else.
Which I don't remember now.
I got so many double majors and different things. I've lost track.
Yeah.
So you love to learn.
I do. And I knew I was done when I was like, I don't want to take another course. And I went, whoa. So, yeah, I do love to learn. And I still get like 3 times the amount of continuing education we need every year. Because I love to learn. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So 10 years to get licensed.
Right. No, that's just to get out of graduate school.
Oh, that's just to get out of, okay, the 10 years to get out of graduate school. What do you feel like was the most powerful course or interaction you had during grad school?
It wasn't the courses. It was once again these comments that were kind of, they weren't exactly throwaway, but they weren't why I was taking the course. One professor, probably the most brilliant person in my grad program, looked at us. We're all like really excited. We're starting an internship, and he looked at us and he said, "You are not responsible for your clients' lives. And we're like, of course we are. We're therapists. We are there to save people. That's our job, is to save people. And he said, if you feel you are the one saving them, you take away their power. So if you hold them as capable, they are much more likely to, to see their own capability and move.
Yeah.
And I went, one, it's a huge relief.
Yeah.
And one I still struggle with. It's like, no, I don't have to say that. No, I don't. And then, so that was powerful. And
Well, and it's that place too of that power differential, right?
yes.
I'm up here and you're down here and you're coming to me because I'm the expert, and he's
Right.
saying like, no, we're here. I'm
Yes.
coming alongside.
Yes.
And that's such a different feel. And I think it's different for all therapists. I know therapists who like being in this role and it works really well for them. And then over here, for me, that's always been my space that I want to hold. And
Yeah. Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And there was something else you're going
And
to
the
share.
second thing was, I think it was the same professor who said, if something comes to your mind to say, and you have no idea why it's there, it just comes, he said, say it and see what happens. And so I do sometimes, and people go, so yeah, trust your instinct, basically.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I wish someone had said that to me
I know.
in grad school.
I know.
Really, truly. In fact, I was at the EMDRIA conference, and one of the presenters there, brilliant. She's actually, I don't know, Bainbridge maybe? Like,
Really?
she's here in the area. I'm going to have a Space Cadet moment. I'll give you her information later. I'll post it of exactly what I'm talking about. But it was the first time I'd seen in a public presentation somebody saying, there is something that happens between two people. There's something that you don't even understand and know about, where whether you call it intuition or whether you call it some kind of energy, psychology, energy shift, there's a connect between you and I, and sometimes our brains have picked up on things that we don't know,
Right.
and they tell us exactly what to do. And I don't know how many times I've had clients say specifically, like, are you psychic?
I know.
And it's like, no, I'm not psychic. Like, some of it is just that place of just knowing
Yeah.
this, like, you're really normal. This is, like, your response is so incredibly normal.
Right,
I know
I know.
that if you're having trauma symptoms, that your glasses are not working properly because all of a sudden your prescription will change, and that's based on stress. That's a physiological thing that happens to anybody that's expressed in trauma, because our eyes are made that when we are being chased by a bear, we become better at seeing farther away so we can pick our path through the forest. So what happens, we're doing all this close-up computer work while we're stressed and panicked. That doesn't work, right?
right,
So
yeah.
all of a sudden people are trying to figure it out in their glasses, and they go into the eye doctor one time while they're stressed. They go into the eye doctor another time when they're not, and their prescription is all over the place. And then you resolve the other stuff and the glasses start working again. So
That's cool.
so like there's some things that it's like, oh no, this is just normal and physiological, and then there's some things that are just so off the thing that I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
I just know that trust it. Okay, awesome.
Which is what we're helping our clients do. Yeah, right?
Yes!
Isn't that cool?
Your job is awesome. Like really,
It's totally awesome.
if you are watching this right now and you are not a therapist yet, like we know you want to do it. Just do it. It's cool. Okay, awesome. So that was grad school. So then from grad school, how long did it take you to get licensed?
Well, I had a circuitous route. I decided I was going to get into academia because, frankly, I didn't have the courage to work for myself. So, and I love learning. So I went, great, I'll just stay in learning forever.
Yes.
But then I realized that academics are just grad students, except they get paid a little more. So, you work like a dog your entire life. And I wanted to have a life, so decided not to do that.
Details.
So, that's right, I know. So then but I still loved research and I didn't have the courage. So I just kept being like a project director of different projects. And then one time, And I loved it. I mean, I loved doing statistics. I loved playing the detective. But I kept waking up and I was like, oh, I get to go to work. But it wasn't like, oh, I get to go to work.
Yeah.
And my project was ending and I thought, now's a good time. I could look for another job or I could go out on my own. And I have no idea why I finally had the bravery to do that. But I was like, if I don't try that, I'm going to regret it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those, I may fail,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to try.
Awesome.
So it was just timing, and I did it, and then it took me forever.
How long ago? How long ago was that from now? Like
It was
that?
10 years ago in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about your first 5 years in private practice.
Well, having no business training in graduate school, like none, except that the field is dying, and you have to work for an agency for no pay, so good luck.
Is that, did they literally tell you that?
Yeah, again and again and again.
Wow.
Yeah, don't even think about private practice. And then half my cohort were all in private practice, because, you know, apparently we're those people who go, oh, you can't tell me I can't do it? Okay. So it just took me longer than my colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I started the first year just opening an office for a day or two, subleasing, and then not doing any marketing, just kind of sitting there with magical thinking.
Yeah.
I would go and meet with people, but not in a consistent, not in a trained, I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. So I went into debt, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll work part-time. So I got a part-time job, and that was helpful because that helped me have that psychological base of safety, which is why I didn't go into private practice in the first place, because I needed that psychological basis of safety. So then I did that, and then I could slowly, still without training,
Trying to figure it out all yourself.
Right, build my practice. And I had a colleague, Lisa Mayfield, I will love you forever, Lisa, and who was also a therapist. And she met with me as I was starting my practice, a couple years in probably. And she said she did the same path I did of working part-time, and then she would give up paid hours to leave space for clients. And she said, every time I did that, every single time I made more money the next year. And so every time I would say, okay, I'm going to work 10 hours less a month now, or a week now. And I'd be like, this just, I don't know how I'm not going to. And every time I would make more money. And now so I would just decrease hours until I was like, it's time. And 5 years ago, last November, I decided it's time. And every year I've made more money. So it was an invaluable piece of advice. So you free up the space and you free up energy to have people come in and to go out and network or whatever you're doing.
Well, and I think for you, as that safety place, like she told you it was safe to rely on yourself.
Yes.
Right? Like it was safe to trust yourself to start moving forward.
To support
and
myself.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I remember when my husband lost his job, and when I was in private practice, and a panic attack. Oh my gosh, how am I going to pay? Oh my goodness! And I went and I looked, and I got offered a position 32 hours a week, and then I did the math, and I was like, wait, I could take on 10 more clients.
Right.
And be less stressed and be better at my job
And work fewer hours.
And work a ton fewer hours and make more than I would make at this agency. It was really nice, but I think that was the point where I was like, okay, no, I'm in. Like, I am self-employed. Like, this is me, that like I finally realized that it wasn't like I'm self-employed because I get to be because my husband's got a job that pays our health insurance. It was like, no, I'm self-employed because it's a really smart decision for me.
Yeah.
And because I really love my work.
Yeah.
And I might have to make some tweaks along the way, but it's going to be fine.
And it was.
And it was.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, that would have been, it would have been the worst decision. Actually, I referred a friend over to the position and referred them over, and I'm really glad I got that position. I had a friend follow me in a couple of like positions that I like left where I was like, oh my gosh, and she would call me up and say, well, what did you think about this? I was like, well, well. And she was just such an awesome therapist and had really good boundaries, so she could just go in and like clean things up. So it was really nice. I don't like to fight that particular fight. Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right, so tell us about where, like, what is happening in your practice right now? Like, what is the woman that you had met with back in New York City said, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put myself out of a job. Like, that was her big vision.
Yeah.
What is, like, your overarching mission and vision of your private practice today?
Well, my tagline on my card is connecting people with themselves and others. And really kind of my mission is first of all, to have people trust themselves and love themselves more than they thought possible. I mean, we're all very good at going, oh, I'm stupid, I should have done that, and that was stupid, and I'm an idiot, and in an effort to make ourselves better. I mean, we're doing it to make ourselves better, but it's not working. So really my job is to help people love themselves as they are. We get to have goals, and I have goals, and I'm like, oh, this is what, and all this stuff. But in the meantime, I'm okay. So it's really to love ourselves as we are, and to trust ourselves. And then when we do that, we can show ourselves to others more so we can connect. Because if I'm looking at you going, God, she probably thinks I'm cool if she knew this. So I'm like desperately trying to hide. Oh, you can't. And with our partners and our family, that doesn't work. So we can't connect. There's always this distance. So when we go, yeah, I've got these faults and I'm okay. You may judge me. I'm okay. So the more can you imagine?
If we like really took shame's power away as a society.
Yeah.
I think that's why the Brene Brown stuff is blowing up.
Absolutely.
Like, really, it's this deeper understanding that what we've been doing has not been working in any way, shape, or form. Like, we have just gotten farther and farther into hiding and putting on fronts and filters and
everybody believes it. Well, your life is great. My life sucks, but you guys have it together,
right?
And we just believe that, and we feel so alone and isolated.
That's one of the things that that I have to say, that with what Kelly and I have been doing with the boot camp and creating community in it, my favorite part, like, it's a weird thing as a business coach to say, I recommend that you don't do individual business coaching with me. Like, even though I would make more money if you pay me hour by hour to teach you these skills, like, it's better for my bottom line. But both of us have found when it comes to like getting all right, so go ahead and repeat that that third specialization, since I had a space cadet moment that my video goes for 20 minutes. 20 on the dot, done.
It's the problem with being in the moment.
Okay. So you were talking about the specific specialization of helping people reconnect with themselves and have that relationship. Give me an example of, like, in generalities, obviously not specific client things, but what are some of the things that you really notice shift for somebody when they start to really learn how to love themselves?
One of my clients called me one day and she said, Dr. Jane, because people like to say that for some reason, Dr. Jane, I can be in my body. Oh, it's like I've never really been comfortable in my body before. And I'm like, she's a very anxious person. And that was lovely. And actually another thing, when people notice they're kinder to themselves, they come up to me and they said, I didn't get mad at myself. And then they always notice, always, that they're kinder to their partner, or they're kinder to their parent, or they're kinder to their kid.
Mm-hmm.
They always notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
That's always been my theory of why we can be so much more horrible to the people that we love the most, is because it's an extension of we treat them more like we treat ourselves than
Yeah.
anybody else on the planet.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so if we're really critical with ourselves, then we tend to be critical with our partners, and we might be really compassionate with the outside world.
Right, yeah.
But, I can tell you, like, I'm very critical. I have very high standards for who I am, and my husband, oh, bless his heart, he's very sweet about my high standards with him. But, it's been a little over a decade, so he's got to figure it out. Bless his heart. All right, awesome. And then tell me a little bit more. You talked about doing speaking for brain health kind of stuff. Tell me about, how do you find speaking places to speak? How do people find you? How does that all come together?
I don't know. People just ask me. It's because I speak on brain health, a lot of elders are really interested in hearing what I have to say. So a lot of assisted living places. And so I started out going to this networking thing that worked with for people working with elders. And there are a lot of marketers there for assisted living facilities, and they're always trying to bring in speakers to bring in people to come into their facility, as well as for activities for their residents. So once you get known, people are like, oh, I know this speaker, she's really great, bring her. So that's really that. I also, for a while, tried to speak on the more national training thing, and I was part of PESI. And it was great fun, but not a lot of people sign up for CEUs for Alzheimer's. They've been trying to bring it, and they keep trying different speakers, and it's just not working. So that didn't continue. And then once I started getting more clients, it was more expensive for me to travel to speak than it was to stay home and see clients.
Isn't that interesting when that starts to shift?
Yeah, it is. It's like,
I remember the point I'd been teaching online at a university, and it was such a easy gig, in a lot of ways. It was like, yeah, you have to grade papers or what have you, but you can do it from your house. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to drive anywhere, and you get this nice little chunk for each class that you do. And then there was this point again where I had to sit down and do the math and look at the amount of hours I was utilizing, how much of that ended up easing into my home life, and what my real hourly rate was, and comparing that to private practice, and it just didn't make financial sense anymore. It's interesting how that starts to come about. And
Isn't
I think
that fun?
it's a really good experience. I think also, the longer that you are self-employed, or sometimes people say, well, I'm not self-employed, I'm just a 1099, which is self-employed. I know. They're like, oh no, I'm just a contractor. Well, that's self-employed. You start to realize what the fee is versus what your take home is.
Yeah.
And so you start to do the math. Something that, $60 an hour for a contractor feels really good if you're coming from a W-2 employment, where that would be a great income.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it as self-employment, and there's certain costs that come out of your paycheck, you start to go, oh, wait, I just did some math here, and this is not $60 an hour make.
And I always knew I was trying to let go of something when I started feeling resentful. I was like, oh, it's time to make a change.
Yeah. All right, awesome. So tell us how your private practice, you said that you've definitely noticed that since doing your business plan and stuff, that your presence as a therapist has changed. How else has your practice changed in the last year?
It's probably about a year ago. I was almost full, and I had 2/3 insurance and 1/3 private pay. And now I'm 2/3 private pay and 1/3 insurance. And this is my next step of okay, every year, when I make room, I make more money. Now it's let go of insurance. I've only ever got on one panel because I didn't want to work for insurance. And so my next step is to let go of the insurance. And I feel these grasps like, but that's my security.
Uh-huh.
Every time I make more money.
I create space
Right.
in my life, and I think it's so important. Like, why does it matter that you make more money? Well, because you're spending
Right.
educating yourself and doing twice the amount of CEUs, and three times the amount of CEUs, and you're getting closer. I know there's that point where you start to shift and go, oh, even if I work until 80, I'm still closer to retirement than I was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you start looking at like, well, what if something was to shift? And working with dementia and Alzheimer's, I bet that brings it like really forward. Like, oh, I need to make sure I have a plan in place for if something was to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so healthy, I can't imagine that ever happening, but
hopefully not.
yeah.
That's the plan.
I sent out a message to the people that I'm connected with on LinkedIn saying, hey, I'm so excited, like I get to interview Urban Yalom, and like send your questions in. And one of the people responds and said, what did he say, like, oh, is he cuckoo yet? Or something like that. Isn't he dead? And I said, no, he's not dead. He's 84. And he goes, oh, well, hopefully he can hold on a conversation. And I was like, I go, oh no, I just read his latest book. Like, no, he can still hold this up. I thought that was pretty funny. Like,
Wild.
it's interesting. I think we hear more about the people who are struggling in older age than the people who are doing really well and who they're staying active. They say one of the worst things you can do is retire. And I know like my grandparents are retired. My grandfather is 86 and my grandmother is she doesn't like that. She did not celebrate her
whatever
milestone
birthday.
birthday. No, she doesn't do it. But my grandfather is more active than I am. I mean, he goes deep sea fishing every single day that he's able to. They're in Mexico 6 months out of the year. He still goes free diving. He just had a valve replaced, but he's still just rocking and rolling. And
bless his heart.
Yeah, no, he is. I'm constantly amazed. Like, if I can look like him, I mean, honestly, like, even as a woman, if I could look like him at 86, we're doing pretty well. Oh my goodness gracious. So you've noticed that shift from private pay to insurance. What has that meant for your clinical work?
It hasn't really changed.
Mm-hmm.
People have asked me, what's the difference between your private pay and your insurance? And it hasn't really changed.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It is. Tapping my timer. Okay. Well, thank you for coming and hanging out today.
Yes,
thank you I really appreciate it. And if you have fabulous clients or friends and family that need some support in Seattle, Washington, wonderful Dr. Jane Tornatore.
I would love to work with him.
Tornatore.
Tornatore.
Here in Seattle, Washington. She is amazing, and I'm so glad that we got to meet through Seattle, or actually through WAFT a little bit, through Washington Association of American Family Therapists, and then we got to do boot camp together, which is super awesome.
Yes.
Do you want to say anything about boot camp while you are here on camera?
Do it. I mean, seriously, if I could have, it's never too late. And if I could have done it at the beginning of my practice, I would have saved myself so much stress, because it's so overwhelming in the beginning. It's like, oh, I gotta do everything and I don't know how to do half of it. Hopefully you understood that. It provides a structure which is so not there when you start a private practice, that it's totally, it's fabulous. Yeah.
Well, I can't argue with that.
Right.
I'd be silly.
That would be silly.
All right, awesome. Thank you
All right,
again.
thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.